lot of people are in that position कि physics में गंदा GPA आ गया. They're having doubts whether are they made for physics, which I think every good physicist would always have. I think 99% के पास आएगा. And उनका GPA कम हो रहा है, professors बोल रहे हैं कि उनको डाउट कर रहे हैं, उनको सच में ये करना है क्या? That kind of thing. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. For someone in that kind of position, what would you, मतलब उस तूने क्या करा उस सिचुएशन में? What would you say to them? I mean, it's very easy to drop your courses, change your major, but then sticking it out and even maybe not getting the best grade, just getting passing grade and then turning that around to being the list. That is pretty insane to think about. So for someone who's failing other courses, maybe this semester is going extremely rough for them. So how do you turn that around? How do you cope? The only thing I can figure out is going to the gym and journaling. That's what I do.
I think like the problem is like it's a general problem at Ashoka. It's of course a sort of in some sense a universal problem, but certainly a problem at Ashoka that there is this एक हवा है, grades की हवा.
Like अच्छे मार्क्स लाना है,
अच्छे मार्क्स लाने की हवा, A लाना है, सब में A+ लाना है करके हमें कि भाई मतलब अगर किसी में B आ गया तो आप प्रोफेसर को गाली देने पे उतर जाते हो. That sort of a thing is there. When I became a T, I realized that कि how much people can be like a आधे मार्क्स के लिए 0.5 मार्क्स के लिए कि भाई लड़ जाते हैं पूरा, सामने को अनफेयर बोल देते हैं, कुछ भी कर देते हैं करके. There's this huge wind in Ashoka about that. The thing to realize is that only you care about your grades. No one else cares about that anymore. Like the thing is that when I went to Caltech and I was asking my professor, this guy is called Professor Rana Adhikari. And a character. Proper character. Like those exactly ऐसा focused mind एकदम of pure logic. Those kind of scientists like you
बहुत rational मतलब.
बहुत rational. Like the way you would imagine a scientist in the way they show it in movies. Yeah. Like that kind of scientist कि तुम nonsense बात करो वो चुप करा देगा kind of a thing. And very straightforward.
Be blunt.
Like very blunt. Like and blunt in a sense like in sort of a like not only when he's speaking truth that he's blunt, even when he wants to say something in general, he's very. So he would come to me when I was at Caltech, not in India. Simply said, "You know what? What did he say? Something in the lines of saying, yeah, and very in a very like a general dosti kind of a language that let me first insult you now. What do you think about Schrodinger's function? How do you?" And I was like, shit, yaar. Like he's starting by saying and then by the time I would think about this answer, I said a few sentences like this and then he's thinking, I know what you're doing. You're trying to make a fool out of me. You are playing around with words. I know exactly how these things work.
To make yourself look smart.
Yeah, it makes you look very smart. But if I ask you to do something on the board, you're going to pee right now. And he said that I know you're playing around with words and stuff like that to make me think that you know something, but you may not know it, that kind of a thing. And he said, the next word, he said, now wait, don't say anything. The next word that you're gonna say, your next word will decide if anyone else, not from your university, not from your city, but from an entire state is ever stepping into Caltech again. Your next word decides that. So he was asking me a question of quantum mechanics and he was like, your next word that you say is going to decide whether anyone else from my state is going to ever step back into Caltech or not. And I was like, shit. And then he said, like this kind of thing, like very sort of blunt, very fun guy. Like, people may not enjoy working with him, but I have this, with these kind of people, it's very difficult to work with them. Very difficult. But if you work with them, you learn a hell lot. He's sort of he's considered a genius worldwide. And massive publications, massive contributions in the field, in the entire LIGO. He was a PhD student of Rainer Weiss, the Nobel Prize winner of gravitational wave science. So at PhD at MIT, and then came to Caltech as a professor here. And then another guy who was sitting between another Indian guy tried to interrupt and said, Professor, maybe I can answer this one. He said, wait, I'm going to insult your school and you as well. But first, let me deal with him. I was like, shit, dude.
Like he was serious.
What?
He was serious.
Yeah. Like he was in a proper mood. Like he was talking like exact dialogues I'm repeating. And then he was like, we were just talking and he said, you know what? By the end of your journey at Caltech, you think that, it's like, do you think that I'm going to judge you based on or am I going to judge your professors or your university? He said, no. I'm too old for judging you or your professor or your university. The entire 200 miles around your school, I'm going to judge that area. That entire place. If you do not perform well, not that you produce results, but if you do not perform well in the internship, I'm going to judge the entire area and no one from that entire region of Haryana will ever come back. It's like, I'll make sure
बोलता ना यूपी से है मुझे भी घसीट लिया यार. What is this?
No, but I mean, I said I was like, yeah. And the thing is that I could not have said at that time कि sir चिंता मत करो, and be like hero कि मैं देख लूंगा करके हो जाएगा सही kind of thing. Because right before that he said another thing. He said, I looked at your website, at Ashoka University's website, and he said that website looked like a typical American liberal arts college. They talk all about, personality development and holistic growth and overall this and all of that kind of thing.
All the shiny stuff.
And, their students, like, they teach their students how to talk smartly. Like, they would be...
but not how to walk the walk.
Exactly. Like, he said, like, many of these places, they would, like, the students over there, they would talk so smart, like, as if they have figured out life and everything around that. But the moment you ask them to do a work, he will realize कि इनको तो कुछ नहीं आता है. So he said, is your university one of them? I said, no, it's not one of them. And he said, okay, we'll figure it out at the... Now the problem, if I would have said at that time, the previous instance, कि आप चिंता मत करो सर, हो जाएगा, एंड तक तो बढ़िया परफॉर्म कर लूंगा, that would have made the impression कि भाई मैं, I am one of them. कि I just talk and I'm not actually voting. So I said, if I want to prove him wrong, I need to show him through my work and not through my words.
Yeah.
So throughout that journey, it was like very funny with him. I know it sounds very torturous to be around a person like him, but for me in general, it used to be like when I used to come out with a meeting with him, I would used to be in a bit of trauma. कि यार साला आज तो बहुत बेइज्जती हुई है. आज तो
उसके बाद
हाँ मीटिंग के बाद कि आज तो बहुत, and I would go to my friends and हंस खुल के भाई बहुत बेइज्जती करा के आया हूँ आज तो. But it used to be very funny, but like it's difficult to work around with some people, but then it's a massive advantage. Like you learn so much, not just about physics. When you're working with a genius, you work a lot, you learn a lot, but even in general of how to work with people, how to speak science. That's what you learn a lot. Ki how do you speak such that you're not talking nonsense, you're talking straight to the point. You're not beating around the bushes, but you're talking to the point, because with these kind of people, you cannot beat around the bush. They'll figure it out like this. Ye बेवकूफ बना रहा है करके. He's not talking sense. He's trying to, like prove his point by doing whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So that kind of a thing, I think I had a experience with him.
No, complete your point first. I'm actually curious to see if there's any other interesting thing this person says.
Like when someone asks me about my Caltech experience, there's something which comes on the top of my head. The meetings with Rana used to be so fun. And
so humiliating.
Yeah, and
fun.
So there were 4 people in total working with him, 3 Indians and 1 from Caltech itself. And all 3 of them were working directly under Rana. And Rana was my co-mentor.
Okay. Co-mentor.
My mentor was another Japanese guy.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So my friends were so, like a little word for them is harami. Right? And they were so like that कि every time, even if Rana would call them to meet, कि let's have a meeting,
तेरे को बुलाते थे.
वो बोलते थे कि ये राणा ने अपन चारों को बुलाया है. Because if I am there, he's gonna definitely make fun of my university. क्योंकि यार वो लोग IIT बॉम्बे वगैरह से थे. एक Caltech से था, एक IIT बॉम्बे से, एक NIT से था. तो उसका तो मजाक उड़ाया जा नहीं सकता है. IIT बॉम्बे का क्या मजाक है? It's good enough. मजाक जो उड़ सकता है वो अशोका का है, because IIT Bombay has proved itself. Ashoka is yet to prove itself in sciences at least. Yeah. In physics at least, it's yet to prove itself. और मैं होता तो उड़ता ही था अशोका का मजाक. मतलब आप में यार, at the end of the day, when I did my project, he called me and he said, you did well.
At the end of the project.
So
that must have been so much.
And I mean, that he did not exactly said you did well, because getting a appreciation out of him is impossible. What he said is that although all of you, even the guy from the Caltech, you did not exactly justify the title of your project, which was given to you.
Justify the title, matlab?
For instance, if you were supposed to do, say, X,
you didn't really
we reached X almost, but because it's an experimental project, you can't do much in 3 months.
Okay, that 3 months is very little time.
Very little. If you place an order, that comes in 1 week. So what do you expect to do in 3 months? You can do a lot, but not something which is not enough. You cannot produce something new out there. But he said that all of you sort of, although you did not justify the title, but you did well enough that if the next surf candidate, the next LIGO surf who comes in, does not have to start everything from base. They can build up on your project.
Yes.
So he said that, and he said that's something that I'm happy about, that you guys did not leave it at 0. The next person doesn't have to start from 0. They have to start from 50, 60, and then they can take it up to 100 or something like that. That's the most that you can get out of him. That's the highest order of appreciation that you can get out of him, and yeah, quite good.
I think it's also about, so when he said that the next candidate who comes can build up on your work, oftentimes when we're in the midst of equations, if you're writing a long ass code, debug kar rahe ho, shit is flying everywhere, you forget why you chose physics in the first place or the field in the first place. Demotivate ho jate ho, right? Every day becomes routine, typing code, testing it, ordering that stuff. But then when you see your work in action, you see, oh, so I'm contributing to this thing. This is the bigger picture here.
Yeah,
I did play a role here.
Yeah.
That reminds you why you started in the field, and it also motivates you. Yes, my work is having an impact. Maybe definitely. Not that big, but ispe impact bada, ispe ye build hoga.
Definitely.
So I think a lot of people, for those who are demotivated physics mein, matlab classes feel monotonous, routine, ye sab karna hai, syllabus hai. Internship ka pressure aa raha hai, या maybe वो internship में है और उनको लग रहा है कि बहुत रूटीन सा हो रहा है, तो उस केस में क्या बोलेगा उन्हें तू?
I think the best motivation is actually to see what you're working for. Where is it gonna play a role? Okay. So for instance, when I was working on a project at Caltech, for the first 1 month, 3 months था पहले, कम था. For the first 1 month, I was collecting data with this one device. It's called a Moku device. Chota sa.
Oh, that's cute. Moku.
Moku is a Japanese name. Moku. It's a simple recorder. Figures out power and multiple stuff like that. I collected 1 month worth of. I figured out the entire sort of device and experiment we built and all, and I collected 1 month of data.
Mm-hmm.
Not 1, maybe 3 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Only to realize that device defected tha. And I'm like, shit, 1 month gone. Yeah. This entire work that I've done over here is of no use. Yeah, iska fayda nahi hua kuch bhi. So I changed my Moku device and started working again. But when this kind of thing happens, or when you're trying to figure out a math and you don't understand it, or when you're trying to write a code and it's not giving the answer that you want, you get massively sort of, frustrated and sort of एक अंडर परफॉर्मेंस वाला आ जाता है अंदर से कि
अंडर परफॉर्मिंग
आपको ऐसा लगने लगता है कि आप बहुत अंडर परफॉर्म कर रहे हो.
Not meeting expectations.
And when you feel that you're underperforming, even if you are performing, you'll start underperforming. So something like, it's not satisfying. The work that you're doing, you won't be able to get pleasure out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you continuously think that you are not doing a satisfactory work, that you're not performing well enough, you won't be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that started a bit, I loved my work. I would spend 8, 10, 12 hours in my lab. Way more than I was expected to. But then, in the middle of our internship, they took us to the Hanford site, the LIGO Hanford site,
mm-hmm.
which is the actual 4-kilometer LIGO, the $1 billion project.
Mm-hmm.
They took us there and they gave us a whole huge, massive tour of the facility.
LIGO Hanford.
The LIGO Hanford, yeah. And it's a multi-billion dollar project, and they showed me the entire, I was working with the mirrors of the interferometer, and they showed me this is where it's going to be put. And I realized the entire science, and I was like, okay, this is the problem right now. And if I do my work well, it's going to improve the results like this.
It's going to solve this problem.
It's going to solve this problem. I understood that. When I saw how my research is going to contribute, what role is it playing, I thought it's a simple thing. I don't know. I didn't realize how big of an issue it is. But when I was actually over there, when I was looking at the bigger problem, when I was looking at the entire setup, I realized that's how I'm contributing. That's what my part is. And when I came back, यार इतना motivation था मेरे में काम करने का for the next
Came back to Ashoka.
Caltech.
Oh, Caltech.
Caltech, yeah. Because there was still 1.5 months left.
So Hanford to Caltech.
Hanford to Caltech में इतनी मेहनत किया, I worked much more and ended up producing good enough results. That was sort of, producing results is not that big of a deal. Figuring out whether the experiment works in the first place, because the thing about my project was that this experiment was being done for the first time in the world.
Oh. So you didn't even know if it is the right experiment to
not just
you're
me,
really testing.
Anyone in the world doesn't know whether this experiment will actually work out or not. Maybe what I'll figure out at the end of, maybe the results of my experiment would not be कि भाई इस mirror की क्या properties हैं. It would be कि experiment ही काम नहीं करता है. So you have to figure out a new way. That could have been a result of my experiment. So it was an entirely new project that no one has ever worked on, no one has ever thought of this technique kind of a thing. And I was doing it. In the end, we figured out good enough results about it. Whatever the problem is, we found a sort of a upper limits to our problems. We found new solutions as well. This experiment is not the best setup to do it. Mm-hmm. If you make these certain modifications, it could become much better. At the end of the day, I was talking to my mentor, my main Japanese mentor guy, Dr. Yuta Mishimura. I was talking to him and I was like, we went out. I said, hey, I just want to have a sort of a last meal with you, some fun time with you. Would you like to go out on like some, I don't know, breakfast or like dinner or whatever? And he said, yeah, let's go out for a burger. So we went out for eating a burger and very sort of hesitantly I asked him, hey, what do you think about me? Like, did you like my work? Would you possibly recommend me? And he said, of course, I would love to do that. And I said, what? Why are you so happy? He was like, dude, I asked him, how did I perform according to expectation? And like, did you expect a surf student to do more or less? Or like, how did I perform? And he was eating burger. I was like, what does that? He was like, you performed way above my expectation. He said, I could not have expected a surf student to do all of this in 3 months. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He said, this project, when it was submitted as a proposal, they expected the timeline to be somewhat around, to reach this level, they expected the timeline to be 7 or 8 months.
Holy shit.
But we did the same thing in 2.5 months over there. So he said that you were way above my expectations in this project. And he said some, like, something which sort of, whatever frustration I had during the first time, it sort of, nullified all of that. And I just became in the end satisfied that the person who worked with my mentor was happy. He said that I enjoyed working with you. You had amazing work. All of that, whatever he said, it sort of, like,
neutralized all the thoughts you have about underperforming.
All of that is there, but in the sense that it made me realize that it's very, very often you would get all these doubts, whether you understand stuff or not, whether you can do, whether you are made for this stuff or not. Very often you would have these doubts. And in the end, if you keep sticking to it, you may figure things out. Like throughout the time, I was like, dude, this math involved in this project, there's no way that I'm going to understand this math. होएगा ही नहीं, मतलब प्रोग्रामिंग तो होएगी नहीं, मैथ पे और ही नहीं होगा करके. But if you stick it to the end, हाथ पैर मारो थोड़ा सा. I asked a few people around, can you help me and this and that. Finally, we figured stuff out in the end. It worked out. They were happy with my performance in the end. So I think it went quite well. And the entire program, I mean, there's nothing like that experience, dude. I mean, the way the sort of the experience that you get when you do an online internship like this, physical internship like this, when you do abroad internship, I wanted to say, when you do not just abroad internship, an internship anywhere, but a good level internship, when you do, the experience that you get is fantastic. There's nothing that can beat that. Of course, there are things like, confidence and whatever, network and research applications, stuff, all of that it gives you. Great. That's all secondary. The primary thing is that it gives you a bit of clarity.
Whether you like this or not.
Whether you actually want to work in this field or not. Whether you actually enjoy it or not. Or do you enjoy the idea of working in the field of physics?
Right.
Do you think it's a cool thing to say, hey, I'm a physicist? Or do you actually like the work that they do? That sort of clarity, I think, is essential when you are in any field. Mm-hmm. No matter, like, be it a field of philosophy or literature or history or, I don't know, business or stock market, whatever. that sort of experience ki yaar, how is the life of a researcher, how is the life of that person following that profession, is that actually what I want to live like, is that actually what I want to do, do I actually enjoy that life?
Right.
So in those kind of things, that experience is, that's why I say to all my friends that before you make a career choice, you must have realized whether you actually enjoy it or not, or whether you like the idea of it. Because a lot of people, they love the idea of opening a startup. A lot of people out there who want to open a startup. But you need to actually realize whether you actually, do you enjoy that work or not. You will realize that once you're working in a startup.
And the only way to do it is actually work in a startup.
Actually
start your own thing.
Exactly. Because once you start your own thing, there's so much of disappointment in the beginning, at least. So much of disappointment that...
Because you don't know a lot. You don't know most of the things you're
failing. You don't know most of the things, and you try to approach client or something, and it's continuously failing. Yeah. And things are you might have imagined, just like this show in this TV serial, Money Heist, whatever, that Money Heist, that they plan to do a robbery, a heist, but then things never work out their way, or things, something like that. In the end, something goes wrong, yeah. And that you have to sort of improvise it on your foot, kind of a thing. And that kind of thing very often happens in every field. Yeah. It's a must that you have a clarity before jumping onto any field.
So, like a lot of first year, second years, even fourth years, I'm sure even you have this to some extent now, even though you've done an internship. It's always a doubt. Do I really want to do academia? My answer was a clear-cut no. I had that answer 7 to 8 months ago. Why was that answer no? I do not want my curiosity to be controlled by funding, to be controlled by what's the trendy science right now. That was simply it. I do not want to mix my curiosity with living or earning a living. Because curiosity मिलती एक तो बहुत मुश्किल से है. बुझ बहुत जल्दी जाती है, मिलती बहुत मुश्किल से है. एक बार मिल जाए, this is something I cannot lose. I value this above everything. And I do mean that statement. For now, I suppose. So, for those looking third year STEM majors, I suppose, or fourth year STEM majors, would you say ki to really decide whether academia is for you, or to decide whether you want to work in industry, internships or working the thing is best, one of the best things they could do?
See, first thing, I think that there's so like I usually say, I think we have talked about this earlier also, like before the podcast, that this, at times, clarity is overrated. Mm-hmm. It's not like too much clarity is gonna make you suffer a lot, and it's not worth having too much clarity. You may think that it's a good idea to just plan your entire 50 years ahead of whatever like that. It's not a good idea to have that much clarity. It's much better to have uncertainty than to have absolute clarity, in a sense that it is not necessary for you to make a decision in your third or fourth year.
Oh, what do you mean?
People very, very early in their life, they decide, in the third or fourth year, I see people in the first or second year deciding, I want to be a sort of quantum mechanic or a scientist or something like that.
Or I want to,
I want to do this black hole core collapse study or something like that. Stupidly,
like they specializing too soon.
Yeah, like they figure out a specialty. They figure out this. They narrow it down. They narrow their options down too early. This may not be the best approach in my
opinion.
I think that if you narrow down your experience, see, if you have a bundle of experience, like a huge amount of experience you have, on the basis of those experience, if you narrow your field down, if you make a decision on the basis of a bunch of experience, it makes sense that you had this huge experience and you narrowed it down.
Yeah.
People in their first, second, third, maybe fourth year, they might have done 1 or 2 projects with professors here. That too in 1 or 2 tiniest subfields of a big field.
Mm-hmm.
That too, that may not be a big internship. It could be just a small summer project or a weekend project. They have done, say, 5-10 courses, maybe on one course on that particular field. Then I don't know, if someone is interested in, say, machine learning, they might have made one simple program of machine learning and may have done one course, something like that. And based on that experience, they're narrowing it down. So you do not have a base right now, base of experience to narrow it down, but you're still, without any base and narrow it down, it's going to be a big sort of a blunder on your part. It's going to not pay you well. The thing is that, I mean, how does it make sense to narrow your choices down when you don't really understand your choices in the first place?
When you don't even have that many choices to begin with.
Exactly. So a lot of people, they have this idea कि यार मुझे theoretical physics में जाना है and I'm gonna, bang in that. But solve a damn problem, sit with a theoretical physics for 2 hours and you'll realize how much you hate this field. In general, with any field like that, a lot of people go out there. I've seen a lot of my friends going out with startups and all कि भाई मेरे को तो startup करना, मैं तो फोड़ ही दूंगा अगर मैं startup एक बार मुझे थोड़ा सा पैसा मिल जाए तो. And they managed money. Within 2-3 years, they realized कि भाई ये startup में जो frustration होता है, sleepless nights and that sort of,
not for me.
It's not for me, and they joined whatever their family business or here and there they somehow managed it.
Yeah.
So narrowing down, especially in the STEM fields, narrowing it down too early is not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to have some clarity. It's important for you to realize that whether you want to, at every stage of your life, you should have some clarity getting. Like, I want to, first of all, you say कि I like physics. Then you need to realize, and not just liking is not enough. You need to know whether you're good at it or not.
What do you mean?
For instance, everyone likes astronomy. Okay, you may rarely find people who will be like कि भाई मुझे तो stargazing करना अच्छा ही नहीं लगता है, कौन देखे ऊपर स्टार. No, very few people who would say that. But in general, everyone loves the idea of looking through a telescope and finding new objects out there and looking at the meteor shower and all of that. Because of which everyone is like, astronomy बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, astronomy करना है.
Mm-hmm.
But एक बार करके देखो, study कि आप जो just study the simplest thing. You love to watch this telescope वाला stuff. You love to do telescope stargazing and all.
Yeah.
Just try to look कि वो telescope काम कैसे करता है. Or the star that you are looking at, just try to study the star formation dynamics.
Yeah.
Using astronomy, through astronomy.
Do you really enjoy that then?
Do you actually enjoy that shit? Most of the people will step back कि भाई ये तो नहीं होगा.
Yeah.
It's a crazy field, ये नहीं होगा करके. So in most of the cases, without any experience, people make a decision and it's not going to work in your favor. It's going to always work against you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a much better idea to get as broad experience as you can have. So when you're in a 3rd and 4th year, I would personally suggest to not be too fixated or too focused on narrowing it down, on narrowing your options. First, focus on getting more and more experience.
Even if it's in a field that you think you won't enjoy.
Maybe.
If it seems boring to you.
Maybe. Right? If you're getting an opportunity, just do it. Maybe you like machine learning, but if you're getting an opportunity in, say, 3D printing, just do the damn thing. See whether you like it. Maybe you like that.
Yeah.
If you think that you like whatever astronomy, and if you're getting an opportunity in electrical work, electronics or something like that, do the damn thing. See whether you like it or not. Maybe you like it. Who knows? Or maybe the skill that you learn here, you can apply it somewhere else. What happens a lot of times is that why I'm saying this is because when I was at Caltech, a lot of people, and from the best places, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, Gandhinagar, ICER, IUCA, and all of these people, there are few people who are in other programs, not in LIGO, who are working on machine learning stuff, data science and machine learning at Caltech. Yeah. It's the same internship program, and they were doing this different machine learning wala stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, in the beginning, they were like, full nerds about it. कि भाई machine learning हम तो life में यही करेंगे. We'll make our own blockchain, ऐसा कर देंगे, वैसा कर देंगे, kind of a thing. And by the half of the time, in the 1.5 months, something like that, they came and in the group they would be like, bhai, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I cannot possibly sit in front of a computer for the rest of my life. For all this while, they were in the 4th, 5th year of their college, and for all this while, they loved the idea of machine learning. They were like, bhai, mujhe to yahi karna. Now imagine if they would have chosen this for their PhD.
That's a 5-year long commitment.
5-6-year long commitment. You have to sit like that and do the damn thing. How annoying your life would have been then, that you don't actually enjoy the work that you're doing for 6 years, that too. Yeah. And what do you do after that? What happens if after 4 years of time, you ended up not completing your PhD? Your 4 years have just gone. But because they did this internship, so I realized that the work that I do, I love it, which is a lucky thing. My friends who thought that they came with the idea that they love machine learning, but halfway through they realized that this is not their cup of tea. And most of them were like that. They realized that this is not their cup of tea, that they actually don't enjoy the work that's there.
We're talking about the people in ML here. Mostly.
ML, yeah.
Okay.
Who are my friends in Caltech.
Okay.
They think that they are unlucky कि यार उनका project नहीं बना, उनका काम नहीं चला. I think even they are very lucky that before they moved on to the next stage of their life, they realized कि they don't like this damn thing. And they got cleared of that idea. जिनको ऐसा illusion था कि I love ML or whatever this kind of program. All they got the damn thing cleared up. कि भाई they don't like it. They like something other else. I think what they did is that they expanded their experience wala pot.
To draw from when they're trying to make decisions.
Exactly. What they did earlier when they took this ML wala internship is that they narrowed it down too early. कि bro मुझे तो यही field में जाना है. So they approached this internship whatever and they realized they did not work it. Now they have once you have 4 or 5 of such experiences, not internship, I'm saying in general, if you have 4 or 5 experiences, if you are a part of some society that organizes something and you are a part of the management team, you see whether you like that management work. It doesn't necessarily be a big internship at MIT or Harvard or no, that's not necessary. Be a part of a simple society and see if you like that kind of, if you like content writing. LinkedIn पे और ये सब whatever freelancing वगैरह भरा पड़ा है. There are a lot of people who claim that they are amazing writers and they want to pursue writing as a profession and all of that. See how hectic a writer's job is. See how hectic that getting published is. Work with any content writers, even if they are paying you very less. Payment is not a big issue right now.
It's experience that you want.
It's the experience, and see if you actually like that. Do 3-4 things like that. Make sort of that's what I did. That's what I think. Why I sort of I was working with content writers I somehow find this through Ashoka alumni actually. Oh. One of the Ashoka alumni, they posted a thing that they want a content writer. I said, I can be a content writer. And we shared some sort of interview or something like that. And I was writing content for him, for his company and stuff like that. And I figured out that maybe, I love content writing. I love writing in itself, but not this kind of thing. I cannot possibly, write a very promotion or advertisement kind of article for something I only don't use. Or something like, they want me to write about, maybe like whatever that sort of job description. I did not enjoy that particularly. Even I was like very fixated कि भाई मुझे तो जो है content writing में जाना है. I realized कि यार ये whatever his life is, I don't want that life.
Yeah.
I can follow some other passion, and while pursuing that, I can maybe do content writing or maybe some writing on my own. But I don't want to make this as my primary profession.
Right.
I tried getting involved with a little bit of society work and all, management and all and stuff like that. And I realized that, this is something that I can enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy communication. I enjoy, say, giving lectures. I took...
Oh, lectures are so much fun.
TA-ship experiences that you can get at Ashoka.
Yeah.
One of the best experience to get, to realize whether you actually like academia or not. Like, don't say you don't like academia unless you have been at least a TA, leave a professor, at least a TA, and see whether you actually enjoy that sort of work or not. In my opinion, when I did, I loved it. I was the TA for POS course, Professor Shomak and Alok Bhattacharya, and I loved my experience.
Last
semester, yeah. And just like this, you do a bit of science projects, you do a bit of society work, you do a bit of management work.
Yeah.
You try to, if you have a family business, if you have a family shop, try to get a little bit involved with that and see what kind of profession works out for you. I was also trying to be a part of this, international societies and all, like, that UN vagera there are out there, the Green Club or something like that.
Okay,
They're owned by UN and all of this, something like that. So try to be a part of as many things, as such things as you can.
Yeah.
Get an overall experience and then try to, for example, I realize that I love teaching. I realize that I love experimentation, like this field, doing hands-on work.
Right.
I love that. I realize that I love traveling and I love writing. I love sort of sportive activities like hiking, rock climbing and stuff like that. Given all of this, it turns out that the field like academia is something, if I'm a part of that field, if I'm a professional in that field, at least for some years, I will get an exposure to all of these factors. Professors and all, they travel a lot. They get a lot of opportunities to travel. Lectures, of course, is there. A lot of people write a lot of like sci-fi and fantasy novels, scientists out there.
Yeah.
Research is certainly a part of it. given that you're a professor, at some point of time you will get a chance to, you know, be a part of some, you can start your own lab and be a sort of a head of that lab. So you get management opportunities.
Yeah.
There's a possibility of science communication that you can do. You go to public, you do presentation. You can, if your university has a telescope, you can involve the local village community around and to do a program like that. So I realized that out of a base of experience that I had, I realized that this particular field is something which sort of contributes to all my passions and all the interests and passions that I have. On some level, I can satisfy all of them if I'm in this field.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have that sort of experience, that sort of a base, don't say yes or no to anything. Don't even say yes कि भाई मुझे तो ये करना ही करना है. But don't even say no कि ये तो मेरे से होएगा ही नहीं. Maybe if you reject that field, you may realize that, okay, it may not be satisfying one particular aspect that you want. But the other 6 aspects that you want is only that field which is satisfying.
Yeah.
So maybe the field that you think, yaar, yehi mujhe karna, I want to do a novel writing business. I want to be an author, kind of a thing. You may think, yaar, kya peaceful life hai yaar, बढ़िया आप किताब लिखो, डूबे हुए अपनी दुनिया में, and you talk to people and stuff like that. It's sort of very, very, at least in the beginning, it's sort of a torturous life, an author's life. Because the publishing houses are not easy on you.
You have deadlines to meet.
The deadlines to meet, and you have a family to feed, or maybe you have yourself to feed. And if you're not putting something out, how are you planning on earning money? And like, how do you have to do a part-time job? If you do a part-time job, you have a stress of that job. How do you do writing when you come back home? So maybe you enjoy writing. Of course, the creative writing, all of that writing, you enjoy doing it. But the other aspects that come with that profession, maybe you don't enjoy them.
Yeah.
You enjoy just one aspect and other 6 you don't like. But in some field, you may think, yeah, this one field I don't like this one aspect, but maybe the other 6 aspects are aligning very well. So unless you have an experience, that's why when you're in college, you should sort of try to enroll yourself in as many of these experiences as you can get.
Yeah.
If there's a sports thing happening, go to that.
Because you aren't going to get this much exposure
anywhere else. You won't get that.
Yeah, people don't realize it.
You won't get that. I mean, of course, people will say a lot of things about Ashoka, which is very everything out there. कि ये तो ऐसी यूनिवर्सिटी है, यहाँ पे लूटते बहुत हैं, ये वो, all of that people will say. But ultimately, some kinds of opportunities, like, they are too good here also. And if you don't utilize them at the right time, you may not get it later. For example, when you're doing a PhD, I was talking to my PhD friends.
The friend is doing a PhD?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a few friends, not at Ashoka, around itself, in many other universities, even places like IT Bombay and all.
Right.
They do not get as much chance to, be a part of clubs and societies because there's so much work now. As a PhD student, they cannot be a part of all of this other fancy stuff.
Yeah.
So as an undergraduate, if you can involve yourself in as many activities, get a sort of a hang of some idea of every possible field that you can. And you don't necessarily have to be a part of societies that you particularly love. For example, I could have been a part of the entrepreneurship society as well, because although I'm not an entrepreneur major or whatever, but I like the idea of entrepreneurship. I like idea of starting a business. Or that stock market trading wala, I don't know if it still exists, but there used to be this trading society or something like that. I don't know.
So consulting club, we have an AIC. I forgot what's AIC.
Yeah, I think something like that. Something like that was there.
Investments club, huh?
Yeah, investment club, something like that is there. I would like to be a part of that kind of society. Although it's not something which is related to my field, but it's something that I enjoy. I'm interested in this. There may be a potential hidden, interest in me that has not shown up yet.
Untapped, yeah.
Until I work on that until I work on the side of society and until I work with these people, I may not even know whether I like it or not.
It's interesting. So, I feel like takeaway ye hai ki, first of all, be comfortable with not knowing what you like. With that said, don't pick a field just because you think the uncertainty is okay. Maybe you like math thora bahut and you think about majoring in math. Okay. But you don't need to have everything figured out in physics, let's say.
Definitely.
I like physics mein people go on to become researchers, therefore I need to sharpen my research right now or pick my research field right now. You don't need to have all of that clear. Just the fact that you like physics for now just might be enough to figure out what you want to do.
Exactly.
So get comfortable with uncertainty and use that to try new things.
Definitely. So in the sense that